My wife of 5 years admitted to cheating and is placing the blame on me. We're both 35 and next week marks 5 years together. We've known each other since elementary school and we're kind of childhood sweethearts. We've been engaged for 2 years, but COVID made a traditional wedding difficult, so we postponed. Until a week ago, we were trying to conceive our first child. 3 days ago, I assumed she had gone to bed while I was reading a book. Out of the blue, she appeared, tears flowing down her face, and confessed, "I am so very sorry. Ivy cheated on you. I am certain many of you can understand just how gut-wrenching that moment is. Never in my life had I been hit with such an overwhelming storm of emotions, rage that burned white-hot, grief so deep it was suffocating, disbelief, hatred, even physical pain all crashing down at once. I couldn't bring myself to say anything. I just started throwing my things together while she trailed behind me like a desperate, lost puppy, pleading with me to speak. The only thing I managed to say was right before I left the apartment, "Thank you for telling me." I never thought I could hit a woman, but God forgive me. If she had tried to touch me during that moment, I might have lost it. I am so thankful she didn't. For the past 72 hours, I've barely slept. I'm devastated. I can hardly speak in full sentences. My mind is racing, my heart is constantly pounding, my mouth is dry, and yet I'm sweating. It hurts like nothing else. I have so much work to do with the end of the year approaching, a mother diagnosed with cancer to care for, and all I want to do is lie down and cry until I can TT anymore. Why do people do this? If you want to have your fun, just leave me. It would still hurt a lot, but at least you would be showing some respect for me, my dignity, and my feelings. I can understand how someone can be with another person and then come home and kiss me. Just writing this makes me feel sick. It is disgusting. She called yesterday, and after I composed myself a bit, I returned the call. We had a long talk, mostly civil. She explained that for the past 7-8 months, she hadn't felt wanted or like a woman. This is somewhat true. I changed jobs and faced a steep learning curve, so I was swamped with work and often exhausted. The situation with my mom also took a toll, so I admit that our bedroom wasn't exactly filled with passion for a while, and that on me. She gave me a few details. Her partner was another man with a wife and children, someone she met at work. It happened only once. They used protection, but it was planned, not some random drunken encounter at a bar. She knows that I am not the kind of man who can forgive or forget infidelity, and she is right. It is a red line for me, and I've made that clear to her many times over the years. She said she couldn't bear to lie to me any longer. The affair happened about 3 months ago, even though she knew the consequences. She told me I was the love of her life, that she wanted to grow old together, and that she hates herself for what she did. She said she doesn't recognize the woman she became in that moment, but she completely understands if I never want anything to do with her again. Her only hope is that, if time heals and I somehow find forgiveness in the future, she'll have a clear conscience and one to be living a lie. I don't know what to think. I don't know what is true and what is not. I don't know if I'm seeking advice, a kind word, or just trying to get this off my chest. It is just so painful that I am constantly screaming inside. Update. First and foremost, thank you. Thank you so much. The fact that you took the time to read through this, despite hearing similar stories before, and offered guidance, resources, or insight, is overwhelming for me. That said, there are a few clarifications I'd like to add. We're not married, just engaged, so there's no legal bond. Thankfully, there won't be any divorce proceedings, lawyers, etc. When I said we were trying to conceive until a week ago, I meant we'd been trying for about 1.5 years. We both got checked out by doctors, and there didn't seem to be any issues that would prevent us from having a baby. But it just didn't happen, and I think this affected her more than she let on. She has a younger sister who recently got pregnant for the 2nd time, and while she was happy for her, I could see that it hurt her as well, like she was asking herself, what's wrong with me, us? Was it stress? Fate? Not enough sex? Bad luck? I don't know. She did communicate the issue to me, and we talked about it at length on a few occasions. I am not defending her, just stating the facts. We are very different people. She always said that sex was one of, if not the most important part of a relationship. For me, it is important, but not the top priority. I enjoy it, but I don't have a constant craving for it. So I can go a week or two without that kind of intimacy, but she finds that difficult. Apparently, I also had trouble expressing my desire for her, and she communicated that to me before the affair. She always said that sex with me was great, she never turned me down and often initiated it. But she said that even if I wanted her, she hadn't felt it for quite a while, and, in the end, felt like she was always chasing me rather than the other way around. That hurt her ego and feminine side, I guess. I have to admit that her assessment is mostly accurate. And here's the kicker. I think what prompted her confession was the fact that I had taken steps to be more proactive in our relationship, especially in the past month. I approached her more often, and we were doing well in the bedroom. I don't know if that makes sense to you. During our long conversation, she also expressed a desire to personally explain the reason for our breakup to both her family and mine. She has already spoken to her family. Her father called me yesterday. It was brief, and he essentially said, "I'm very sorry for how things turned out. You know I respect you greatly as a man, and I hope you two can find a way forward if at all possible." She's already reached out to my brother, who knows we've separated but doesn't know why, and they're supposed to talk today or tomorrow. As for my mom, it is a messed up situation, and it will likely become clear around Christmas, but she asked if I wanted to handle it any differently. Regarding the other guy and his relationship, many of you suggested finding his wife and explaining the situation to her, but that's not something I can do. My fiancée works at her father's family business, and this guy is with some kind of contractor among many others they deal with. I really don't have the energy or mental capacity to hunt him down and unravel everything. That's not who I am, and I'm genuinely afraid of what it might do to my sanity if I go down that rabbit hole. I don't know who he is and don't care. I don't know the state of his relationship and don't care, and I don't know any details about whether she was told, by whom, etc. I completely understand where you all are coming from, but playing private investigator and then going scorched earth isn't in my nature. Also, it might sound selfish, and it probably is, but taking that action would likely uncover things that would bring me even more pain, and that's the last thing I need right now. Reading back over everything, it might come off as mild and apologetic, but believe me, it is not. This is just how things are from my perspective. Everything between us is over, and just the thought of any contact with her repulses me. However, I want to present the situation as it is to the best of my knowledge, not paint myself as the ultimate victim, or depict her as some kind of demon. Hopefully, someone can learn something from the implosion of my relationship. Once again, thank you all for every word of encouragement and every piece of advice. I am deeply humbled. I'll try to update after a few weeks and share how I am dealing with the aftermath. Update 2. It has been about a week since D-Day. She called almost every day to check up on me. For the first few days, I was too numb and just mumbled yeah on the phone. Eventually, I realized she was taking me on her guilt trip and asked why the hell she kept calling. I haven't seen her since D-Day. One thing led to another, and the truth came out. Here is her final version of events. Why did she do it? She planned it as revenge against me, a pity revenge. She wanted to rub my nose in it for all the times I neglected her, for the times our bedroom was silent, for the times I looked right through her, as if she didn't exist, her words, almost verbatim. She did it, and she did it more than once. Most of you were right, it wasn't a one-time thing, and she started to develop feelings for the other guy. Why did she tell me? She said she told me because she still loved me, that I was her great love and she couldn't bear to lie to me any longer. However, she made it clear that she still wants the emotional connection of the affair and intends to continue with it, and with him again, almost verbatim. But if that fizzles out, which she somehow expects it will, she hopes to come back to me with a clear conscience. Basically, she wants and needs the affair right now. But if somewhere down the line I could forgive her, at least there wouldn't be any secrets between us. Needless to say, I was stunned by this. The other guy's wife and kids? Against my better judgment and sounding like a complete idiot, I asked her about the status of his marriage. They were separated. Yes, I checked, and it is true they don't live together. Not officially divorced, but separated. My mom? She took it like a champ. God, I don't know where she draws her strength from, but in a time when I should have been her rock, she once again became mine. Mom, You'll never read this, but you're the best parent anyone could ever wish for. What have I done? I decided to quit smoking completely, my biggest addiction, give up alcohol, more of a social drinker, but still cut out energy drinks I'd been consuming a lot more in recent months, and restart my regular exercise routine. It has only been a week, but so far I've managed. How do I feel? I feel like crap. I barely eat, I barely sleep. It feels like I am in hell. All the images and thoughts come unbidden, overwhelming me, and I struggle to function at all. I'm a simple man who lived by simple rules: respect your woman, provide as best you can, be faithful. She bulldozed through my sense of self, annihilated my self-respect, my dignity, and my hope. My brother saw me the other day and literally begged me to get my act together, saying I looked like the ghost of a ghost. I've read many stories here since I posted mine, and honestly, you guys and gals have gone through far worse. I'm not married, I have no kids, I have a wonderful family and friends, and a decent job. Some of you have real horror stories, and I am absolutely humbled that you kept going while I just want to curl up in a ball and disappear. How the hell did it come to this? Update 3. It's been more than a month since D-Day, and honestly, there's not much to update. Some of you asked about her and her affair relationship. I honestly don't know and don't care. I haven't seen or asked about her. In January, we had only one brief conversation on the 5th or 6th. She begged me to call to sort out some final technicalities, asking about towels and blankets and other nonsense. I said, "Are you really calling to arrange the handover of towels? Throw them away, burn them, keep them, I don't care." And that's when she, thankfully, destroyed any last remaining shred of respect I had for her. I called you because I felt weak, but dawned to take this as a sign of hope for us. That is when it fully hit me what a miserable liar and cheat I've been dealing with. Not only did she nearly destroy my life, not only did she manipulate me into thinking it was as much my fault as hers, but now she's dangling hope for us like it is something she controls. The sheer audacity. Some of you called her exactly what she is: a parasite. A parasite that took a good heart and turned it into a wasteland. Absolutely no contact after that. But I'll survive this, and I'll survive her. I'll get better, not today, not tomorrow. Maybe not even in a year, but I will. As for her, at some point in life, we all get what we deserve. When that moment comes, whether it's a week from now or decades later, I want to be there. Let fate sort her out in its own time and way. Now on to the next story. Story 2. My 35M wife, 37F, just admitted that she cheated on me with her ex-boyfriend a month after we became exclusive. We've been together for 13 years. My wife, 37F, and I, 35M, have been together for 13 years, married for 10. We've got 3 kids, 2, 5, and 7 years old. Over the weekend, everything came crashing down, and I've been a complete wreck. I honestly don't know how to handle any of this. We met when she was 24, and I was 22. She was in a relationship then, a 5-year-long one, with her boyfriend at the time. We became friends through school, working on assignments together, totally platonic. I remember asking about her boyfriend, and she confided in me that their relationship was falling apart. They weren't intimate anymore, and he was emotionally abusive, criticizing her outfits, calling her fat, which she absolutely wasn't, and openly comparing her to other women he found more attractive. He'd even cheated on her a few times and started seeing other women near the end of their relationship. One day, she called me, just as a friend, to vent about everything. She told me her boyfriend had said he wanted to explore other women and thought they should break up. She was devastated, so I took her out for lunch, just to listen and be there for her. A week later, she called again to tell me he had officially dumped her and was moving out of the house they shared. Being a 22-year-old guy, I thought, perfect, maybe I could be her rebound and get with her. I know it was crappy of me, but at that age, I wasn't thinking about the long-term consequences. We started going on regular dates, even though she was still living with her ex. Our conversations were often about her breakup and the mess it brought with it. I'd pick her up from their house and we'd hang out. This went on for a few weeks, and eventually we slept together when I brought her back to my place one night. After that, I realized I really liked her, so I asked her to be my girlfriend. She was still living with her ex, who hadn't moved out yet, so I found myself dating someone who was still sharing a house with her ex-boyfriend. But I trusted her when she said it was over between them. She seemed to genuinely dislike him. Just to clarify the timeline, they broke up, and about a month later I asked her to be my girlfriend. We kept seeing each other, and I was there for her as she worked through getting him out of her life. He finally found his own place and moved out a few weeks later. Once he was out of the picture, our relationship started to feel more real, free of the drama that had been hanging over us. About a week after he moved out, roughly a month into our exclusive relationship, I planned a date night for us. We were supposed to meet at 7 p.m. at a restaurant. I texted her an hour before but got no response. I tried calling, but there was nothing. I ended up driving over to her place, but she wasn't home. I was worried but didn't know what to do. She called me at 11 p.m., apologizing like crazy. She said she'd been at a friend's place studying for finals and left her phone in the car, completely forgetting about our date. She felt awful. I told her it was okay and didn't think much of it. I trusted her and we moved on. A week later, her ex-boyfriend started harassing her with nonstop calls. She told him to leave her alone, that she didn't want him back, even though he was desperate to reconcile. It got so bad that he'd sit outside her house for hours. One day, I was there when he showed up, and she ended up calling the police. She eventually filed a restraining order against him, and we didn't hear from him again. About a year later, after a few drinks, she let something slip. She admitted that the night she was supposedly studying and left her phone, she was actually at her ex's house. She apologized, saying his mom was in town and she'd gone over to help him patch things up with her. She'd been close to his mom, so she agreed to have dinner with them and talk about their relationship. She said that after dinner, she went back to his new place with his mom, and the three of them kept talking. As the night wore on, it got late, and instead of driving home, she decided to stay over. I was obviously upset about the whole situation, but she assured me she had told him she didn't want to be in a relationship with him anymore and had moved on. She insisted nothing happened between them. Over the next several years, I kept pressing her about that night. It gnawed at me, making me feel insecure. Every time I asked if she had cheated on me, she swore she hadn't. She claimed she just went over there to talk, left her phone in the car, and fell asleep after I called her. She said she felt awful lying but was dealing with so much after her breakup that she didn't know how to handle it. But she never wavered. She maintained she hadn't cheated on me, even though I couldn't shake the doubt. We ended up getting married and having 3 kids. But this past weekend, I couldn't let it go. I pressed her one last time about that evening. I told her something just didn't sit right with me, even after all these years. It randomly popped into my head, and I asked her again, what really happened that night? I'm not sure I believe you or your story, it just doesn't make sense. She broke down crying, and in that moment I knew. She confessed that she had never wanted to tell me the truth. She admitted she did go over to his house with his mom, but after his mom left, they talked about their relationship. One thing led to another, and they ended up having sex on the sofa. She said she was confused about her feelings, caught between being 2 months out of a 5-year relationship with him and dating me. She hadn't processed the breakup and didn't know what she wanted, especially since he had dumped her but was now begging to get back together. She told me they had sex, and then she called me when I was frantically trying to reach her, worried sick. She ended up staying the night and went home the next morning. After that, she told him she didn't want to get back together, and they needed to stay apart. I know it all stopped after that because she clearly avoided him and even got a restraining order against him in the following weeks. But now, I am sitting here, feeling shattered. She confessed to lying to me for the past 13 years and had been gaslighting me the entire time. Every time I asked about that night, she denied anything inappropriate had happened, making me feel crazy and insecure. I had convinced myself I was just losing my mind, but now I know she did cheat on me that night. I keep telling myself that when we started dating, she had just been dumped by a guy she'd been with for 5 years, and I was a rebound. She was even still living with him at the beginning. I believe her when she says she hasn't cheated any other time and that it was just an overlap between her relationship with him and me. But that doesn't erase the hurt knowing she lied to me all these years, leaves me feeling confused and devastated. We've been together for 13 years, we have 3 kids, and we've had a great relationship otherwise. But this revelation is overwhelming. I'm even considering divorce. After 13 years, finding out that she cheated on me during our first month of being exclusive and then lied to me about it this whole time has left me a wreck. I know I need to process this before making any decisions, but I wanted to share this here to gain some perspective and clarity. She has been apologizing nonstop, reassuring me that she feels terrible and only lied because she knew it would never happen again. She realized after that night that she wanted to be done with him for good, and was just confused at the time, transitioning from a long-term relationship with him to a new one with me. She understands why I am devastated and keeps reminding me that she was young, hurt, confused, and didn't know what she wanted until after that night. I am certain she hasn't stepped out on our relationship any other time. If there was ever a moment to question, it was that one night when she disappeared and I had no idea where she was. After that, I always knew where she was, who she was with, and I never had any reason to suspect anything was wrong. Do I need to take a step back and work on forgiving her, or is this a deal breaker? I love her with everything I have, and we've built a life and a family together, but this is the hardest thing I've ever had to face.